Hello. Thank you all very much for being here. I want to talk about designing and calibrating our own scales of balance. Because we talk about this balance thing like it is, a universal. But the truth of the matter is you use different scales, whether you're dealing with gold or whether you're dealing with weight of diamonds or whether you're dealing with 2-ton trucks. You have to figure out what that scale looks like and how you are defining your balance. Because here's the thing. When we talk about, as empowered women, having it all and balancing things and juggling and this, that, and the other thing, the truth of the matter is most of us are dealing with scales that are not of our design. So I'm going to talk to you about how you can change that, or at least try to change that. Because I found myself in this very real, very difficult situation. You see, like many of you, I was told, get that education, pursue that career, find your goals, find your passion, go and do your thing, girl. Right? Build that career. Have the babies later. But build a solid foundation for your career and you will be fine. How many of you heard that? Well, it's not going to be fine. They lied to you. And this is why you must take control first of your scale. Because you see, the first directorship that I had at a museum where that was me. I was the one who was going to make this thing happen in this new institution, and I'm negotiating with the board terms of my contract. And they are sending me the employee manuals and the policies and procedures, and I'm looking at this thing, and I'm thinking to myself, where's the maternity leave? Where's the, what? Because, I figured, I have done it. I've become a director. It's time to have some babies. And so I asked, how will we handle my maternity leave? Because it will happen during the course of my employment. And these board members, these men, looked at me and said, "You're what?" I am not joking. I said, "Maternity leave. I am in my childbearing years. I do not have children. I intend to have children. How will we work that out?" We'll have to get back to you about that. I had to have it written into my contract that I could have a certain period of time off paid to care for my newborns. Now, look, I clearly understand when you're leading an organization, you have to make sure that you have the mechanisms and things in place so that the place can run successfully without you. In fact, I would argue you're not a very good leader or director if you can't be away for a certain period of time and the place not fall apart. If that's your problem, you need to fix that first. Because managing children, you will lose your mind. So the time came. I had my children. And this balance issue became even more problematic because the expectation of the men was that I would resume the 12 to 14-hour days that I had been putting in prior to the birth of my son. That was the presumption. And for some odd reason, I felt like I had to do it. I could do it all if I could just figure out. So I went and I hired this amazing woman to help care for my son, and I had this amazing daycare center where I could literally leave work, go, nurse my son, come back. Was that too much information? And come back to my office, and man, I was running ragged. And then I said, wait a minute. Sitting in a bar with a potential donor at 7 o'clock at night is not how I need to do this job anymore. If I can't have a conversation with you that makes you relaxed and comfortable with me during the 9 to 5 or 8 to 5, and the occasional group setting then I need to rethink some things. Because I didn't wait that long to have my children to have somebody else raise them. I didn't. So I needed to start figuring out how to redesign, rethink, recalibrate what the scale was like. And I am here to tell you, it was not an easy process. Gentlemen in this audience, you are our allies. Because this applies to you too. And once I was in that job, one of the other things that I recognized right away was that the staff that I was working with was a fairly young staff, a childbearing staff. And not only did we need to establish some kind of maternity for them, for the women, I also was very much interested in establishing a paternity leave. And so these are the kinds of things that I began to set in place to try to have this conversation, not just within my own institution, but among my colleagues and peers in the not-for-profit sector, particularly the museum world. How are you handling this? What are you doing? And most of us who didn't have a whole lot of money to begin with, well, we have that FMLA. Really? FMLA is how you deal with this? Seriously? Unfortunately, that is the reality for far too many. I was actually even having a conversation recently with another not-for-profit in town, a hospital group, in fact, and we were talking about some of these issues, and I said, wow, well, you know, you're a hospital, and you're related to religious organizations, and that's just great, because it means, you probably, family is really at the core of what you do, and so y'all have this, right? And they said, no, we don't. We have 3 days. And I gasped. Just like you just gasped. I gasped. And I said, oh, honey, you guys need to figure out how to collectively do better. See, that's my point. Revolutions are not necessarily started by somebody marching down the middle of the street, waving a flag like a crazy person. They're started with conversations about what's important and what you value. Once I began to really understand for myself what was important to me as a mom, what was important to me as a professional, it became clearer how I wanted to do it the next time. So when the next time came, I knew that I needed some flexibility in this schedule. I knew that when there are little plays at the school in the middle of the day, I intend to be there. I knew that when there are those little annoying parties that you can't have peanuts, I need to be there. But my children also understand that there are times when mommy has to travel, when mommy has to be away. And my husband and I, we work through what that's like. If he needs additional support during that time, it's either the grandparents or we hire somebody to do it. We figured it out. And I made a promise to my family that I won't travel more than this amount of time in any given month. I won't spend any more than 2 days a week where I am late and not home to cook you dinner, because that's important to me. It may mean that one of these mornings or 2 of these mornings that I have to do that, I may have to go in early for a breakfast meeting. But it is a family discussion to help me find the balance that was so critical to that. Now, that was me. And it's an ongoing conversation that my friends and I have, because I have another friend who made the decision to leave the workforce for a little while to care for her children. And she was told if she stayed out of the field for more than a certain amount of time, it essentially would be like her going back from the beginning, basically starting her career over, which is grossly, grossly unfair. And so this friend of mine, she is, exceptionally bright. She is, wow. I mean, the things that she's created in our field are just stunning, and the programs, public programming. And so, but she did. 15 years ago, she took time off, about 3 years actually, and she had her kids, boom, 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 right in a row. 3 kids in 3 years. Well, this is the same friend that looked at me and said, "You having a baby at 42? Yes, I am." And that's it. But in her case, unfortunately, what happened when she was up for the role that she had worked her career for, that she had stepped away from, the question that she got asked as part of her review was, "Why were you out of the workforce for this period of time?" She's laughing. She's heard it. It is unconscionable. Why is there a gap in your employment? And she said, "Because I became a mother, I was a stay-at-home mom, I had my kids, but I came right back into the field. I did step back because I had young children, I did take a step back in the position so that I could have more time with them, but my children, they're teenagers, I've built my career back up, and now I am ready to continue my track." And unfortunately, she didn't get the job. She lost out on the job to a young man who had 10 years less experience, had never run an institution the way she had, but that question kept coming up. So unfortunately, we have this double-edged sword that we have to play with. We have to figure out, again, what does balance mean for us? And once you figure that out, you need to understand that your scale is going to change and that you have the power to change it. Even the things that I'm telling you right now, you have the power to change it with the right allies, with the right thinking, with the right planning. You can make it happen for yourself, because I made it happen here in Richmond. I have a board that now says, "Don't you have something to go to the school?" Well, then go. Why are you on the phone with me? And that is what I meant by take the time. Find the answers for yourself. Design if you have to, but at a minimum, calibrate your own scale for balance, and you will find the happiness and the fulfillment that you need. Thank you very much.